Hi guys. So I wanted to kind of just make this video. I had a dream. I don't know, probably a couple weeks or so ago, and um, I just have been kind of sitting on it and really thinking about it, and it keeps, the Lord keeps bringing it back to my attention, and I really feel like it's something that I want to share and I want to talk to you guys about. So I'm just gonna pray before I say anything because I get really tongue-tied and I don't say what I feel like I want to say. It's in there in my head, but it sometimes doesn't come out the right way. So Lord, just please help me right now to just be your vessel and just use me in any way that you want. Help me to say the right things and just to give me the words that you want me to speak, Lord, and just use this in any way for anybody who's out there listening, that it would bless them and that they could receive it and hear this, whatever you want me to say. I love you and I thank you. Oh, I thank you so much, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, um, I had this dream a couple weeks ago, like I said, and man, the more that I unpack this dream and the more that I think about it, um, I'm just so blown away and so touched by this dream. So where do I begin? Okay. So it was kind of almost like two dreams combined, but they kind of went together, if that makes sense. So my dream started out with me, and in my dream, was going back to my addiction, um, and that lifestyle. And it was devastating, to say the least. And I felt in my dream the shame, the guilt, and that I have felt in my life before with my addiction problems. Just that frustration of, man, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to go back. I don't want to do this, but just doing it anyways. So I felt this in my dream. I felt the shame and the guilt, and I um ended up living under this bridge with this man that I don't know who it was. But I was just dirty, and I was just, it was like I hadn't showered, I hadn't, brushed my teeth, I hadn't, I just was in dirty clothes. I was just had gone back into my addiction, and it was weird. In my dream, it was like I knew that I was doing drugs. So for me, I struggle with alcohol, so this was a little bit weird. Even in my dream, it was like I was doing drugs, and I knew that my issue was with drugs. So as I am, going back to my addiction, living this lifestyle, being homeless, living under this bridge, dirty, and just shameful. I then was placed in it was in this house, and I saw my one of my grandpas. He has now passed away. Um, okay, sorry about that. My daughter was calling for me. So I went into this house, and it was in this dining area, and my grandfather was there. And there was this big long wooden table, and my grandfather was there, and I didn't really see him, but I just knew he was there, and he was at the end of this big long table. Um, and I was coming here for basically dinner. And there were lots of people there, but I didn't really know them, besides my grandfather. Um, and in my dream, I don't really know how to describe this, but I knew that there was sons, so two sons, but I only saw one son. And this one of the sons that was my grandfather's son. So how do I explain this? My grandma had married my grandpa. It was not biologically my grandfather, but I knew him as my grandfather. But my grandfather had been married before and had children. I had never met them. So in my dream, though, I knew that this was my grandfather's son. I had never met him. And my grandfather was a rancher. And this son of my grandfather, he was all decked out in cowboy boots, Wranglers, and like a button-down kind of Western shirt. And he was like a cowboy, and it reminded me of my grandfather because he dressed like that. And so I knew that it was his son. But he welcomed me to the table, and I knew that I looked dirty. I looked a mess. Now, this was going from my first dream. It was like I went straight to this first dream into this dream. And so I was this same person, if that makes sense. And I knew that I was a mess. I knew I hadn't showered. I felt shameful. And I felt shameful. And I knew how this shame felt because I have felt this way before. And I'm going to try not to cry, but this son, he was so nice and such a gentleman to me. And I knew that I just didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve to sit at this table. But the son took me to the table, pulled out my chair for me, and started to serve me food to eat. And I sat down at the table as he served me. I'm so sorry. I want to cry and not get this out, but I woke up from this dream. I was basically it. It ended with me sitting at the table and this son of my grandfather that I didn't know serving me the food, and he was so gentle and just like he was a gentleman, pulling out my chair and kind and accepting of me, even though I knew that I was a mess. My phone. All right, I'm sorry, you guys. My phone ran out of room. But the more that I, thought about this dream when I woke up, I was confused. I didn't even know if my grandfather had a son. I knew that he had children from a previous marriage, but I'd never met them. So I ended up, talking to my parents and discovering that he did have one son, and their relationship, without going into too much detail, basically they didn't really have a relationship, I believe, because the son had an addiction problem. I had no idea about this. So this is very interesting how I believe the Lord showed me something about somebody I don't even know really, with my family, but he had an addiction problem, and essentially like my dream. And I could relate and I could understand in my dream because I've dealt with addiction problems, not with drugs, but with alcohol. And the more that I thought about this, also, I believe that the grandfather and the father at the table is a symbol for God the Father, and the Son welcoming me to the table was Jesus. And that's saying that we both had a spot at the table, and Jesus, the Son, is welcoming us at this table. We both have a spot at this table. We're undeserving. We don't deserve it, but Jesus welcomes us, and we have a spot at the table. So I want to read to you quickly the parable of the lost son. When I woke up, I was still thinking of two sons. So this brings me to the parable of the lost son. And at first I didn't think of this, but I'm just going to read it to you, and I'm just going to let it explain for itself. So at Luke 15 verse 11, Jesus continued, "There was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent to him his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and he is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called out the servants and asked him what was going on. 'His brother has come,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound.' The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I have been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders, yet you never gave me even a younger goat, so I would celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours who has squandered your property with prostitutes comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him.' 'My son,' the father said, 'you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But you have to celebrate and be glad, because your brother of yours was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found.'" This is my dream. This is saying, this is talking about those that of the lost son, that Jesus welcomes us. He welcomes us back, and we now have a spot at the table with God the Father and Jesus the Son. We have a spot. He welcomes us with open arms. And I just hope that blesses you. And I don't have any more time on my phone, but oh man, I hope this speaks to someone. No matter how far you've gone, Jesus is there. Just run to him and he's there. I love you guys, and thank you for listening. Bye.